Hey guys, today I'm video about watch snobbery. So, what is a watch snob? And I will react on a video made by It's Complicated. So, in It's Complicated is a guy who makes. He's also on YouTube. So his channel is It's Complicated, and he makes a lot of videos about watches, especially some more expensive brands. And most time he's talking about Rolex. So, but this week, some days ago, he made a video about watch snobbery and what is it and what is a watch snob. So, hey OD Watches, how are you, guy? So, at the moment, also someone else is online and is streaming. So it's John the Phone Guy. I know him, and he's a very kind guy. And he has an interview with another Invicta collector. So I know that, but normally I stream also on this time, and he has no problems with it. I'm now also doing my live stream because it's also just on this topic. Yeah, and the collector he is talking with, his nickname is Godfather. Yes, he had no other time he can speak. So yeah, it's for myself. It's no problem that he just do his live stream, and we will just have a chat about this topic. And I think my live stream will be short, and maybe I can also see like the last moments of his live stream. So yeah. Let me see if I have it. Bam. Okay. I think you cannot hear the sound, right? Maybe like this. It's not picking up the sound. No sounds. Oh. That's strange. Because normally it will always pick up the sound. Okay.
A watch snob. I got colleagues, you could call them, on YouTube that have been called a watch snob just because we have certain watches and the person firing that term doesn't have that watch. Well, I bet anybody firing that term at me probably doesn't know that I have a $20 Casio sitting in my watch box right next to the Rolexes.
So I think you hear now him talking also. So this guy is especially, he really loves Rolex, and in most of his videos he's talking about Rolex and how great Rolex watches are. And I indeed, Rolex watches are just very good watches. It's no problems with. and just a fine watch, and they are expensive, but they are well made. Definitely you get quality when you buy Rolex, so that's no problem. But he is saying that he also has a Casio. So Casio is everybody know Casio. I mentioned them already several times last weeks, also with the tier list I did. uh, very nice, well made watches, quartz watches with an LCD on the watch, and sometimes also functions like world time. You can set a timer and such on.
And I have a Vostok in my watch box right next to the Rolexes. I think most people that use that term, watch snob, they use it as a self-defense term. What ends up happening is somebody like me says something about a watch that they have and I don't like it. It's just not within my tastes. Maybe it's an homage to something that I own. I don't know, but I don't like it. I think it's crappy, and I say, I don't know, I don't like that brand, I don't like that watch. And then they go, oh, he's a watch snob. No, I'm not a watch snob. I have what's called taste. Any of my viewers know there is a certain brand of watch which I don't tolerate. It just has ridiculously high MSRP on the watches that are decent, and the ones that I don't like are just too big for my taste. I don't like that they're housing.
So yeah, he doesn't call. I think he doesn't mention the name of the watches he's now talking about. But I think you know what brand he is talking about. So he's talking about Invicta, and especially the how Invicta is nowadays with bigger watches, sometimes with high MSRP, and a lot of quartz movements inside watches. So, and he doesn't like them, and people are just saying that he is a watch snob. Um, so let we listen further.
Quartz movements inside a 70mm watch. Not my favorite, just not my cup of tea. But to the people owning those watches, that makes me a watch snob. But again, you're wrong. I got a $20 Casio in my.
So he got a $20 Casio. So he is no watch snob. He just loves also cheaper watches. He also loves quartz watches. So end of the case. So no, I think the problem is not that he has a Casio. I think the problem is just he just sometimes he is just he's only out to bash people. There are a lot of people just if you post a watch, they will say it's bad or they say it's ugly just because it's ugly. They just because it's that brand. So as example, I have this vint. Oh, let me make myself bigger. So I have this vintage diver from the 70s. And when I post this on some fora or in some watch groups, people will say it's ugly. And if I ask them why it's ugly, they will say it's just because it's an Invicta. It's just because it's an Invicta, and then that's why it's ugly. It's not because they have a reason behind of it, because they don't like. I'm not into the Invicta team watches, into the superheroes, into the Joker and such on. So I it's not my taste, and I think I will never wear such watches. Maybe if someone give me one, I will wear it. But normally I won't buy such such watch. But there are a lot of Invictas. As example, the Venoms I have, the Botzers, some other, also some pro divers. I want to maybe I want to try also an excursion, and I got an Akula Prestige that I really love. So there are a lot of Invictas that I really like, but those people, they just only say that he has a good taste, and he doesn't like it. So yeah, he doesn't like it, so it's a bad watch. So somebody has a bad watch because he don't like it, or some people are just saying yes, it is a bad watch because it's just an Invicta, or it is a bad watch because it is an cheaper Aragon, or a cheaper or maybe an so you have also some cheaper brands, or some more like Davies or Sachan, and they don't like it. They don't like the brand, so it's just bad. So there's no really reason behind it, and they're just bashing just to bash. Atje, 1960. If he has such good taste, he should put on a good fitting jacket. It's hanging on him like a potato sack. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes, yes, that's. I think that's really funny, Atje. So yeah, but there are people here. There are people in the world. They are just only out to bash people, just to just. I think maybe they have fun with just with giving other people a bad feeling, or I don't know. I think there are people that just. I don't say that I think his name is Chris. I don't tell that. I don't say that Chris is just like that, but there are people that are just only out to. They only want to bash people. I'm not sure why. Without a reason. I know also some people on some watch forum, they just do that because I think because they have fun with that. With doing that.
Collection. It's different from everything else. It's the only quartz model that I have in my watch collection, and it's the only watch that's even close to a square watch that's in my watch collection. It's a great watch to throw on, go out, do some yard work, etc. I like that watch. So I'm a watch snob just because I don't like the watch you're wearing. No, that's not snobbery. Again, that's called taste. I prefer Seiko watches if you're going to spend $100 and something on a watch with a mechanical movement. Seiko has been a trusted brand for many years, and they don't have MSRPs that are $1,000 or $2,000 to get your hands on a watch that costs $200. I think the whole watch snob comment is just very, very silly. When it comes to watches in my collection, I'm very much into finding watches that I find are great looking pieces, or maybe watches that I've always wanted, and finding.
So yeah, I'm not sure if he also mentioned it, but he doesn't like brands that are. He doesn't like watches that are big, and he doesn't like the system with a high MSRP. So if he doesn't like that, that's okay. Not everyone likes 50 or 60 or like bigger watches. Not that is no problem. So yes, I think for everyone there is something. If somebody likes a watch smaller, yeah, he can. There are watches for that. So I asked some people what they think about the new Invicta release. So this is a very classic design. Some people say that it is a really nice watch, but they don't want to buy it because it's too classic. Okay, no problem. Because they love more like the diver kind of watch. So they have the. I think I have to pick it up. So they have the 1953. Also, no problem with it. The 1953 is also a very, very nice Invicta. Just recently released. Nothing wrong with it. So if you compare, like, this is more a diver, more a sporty watch, and this is more dressy. You can also wear this casual, but it is more classic design. And this is also based on a classic watch, but it is more more sportive. And if you're like more into the sportive watches, more into the divers, I understand that you don't like the quad. So I think also with the in the Invicta collections, they have a variety of watches. Not only bigger watches, they also have some smaller between the 40 for men between the 40 and 50 millimeter. They have a lot of watches. But also, if you don't like the designs Invicta make, you can also go with the other brand. So he likes Rolex, and he has also a Casio in his collection. No problem.
Like the right one that I think is going to go up in value. That's a lot of the fun for me. You know, anybody really into watch collecting, you guys know that part of the fun of collecting watches is the hunt. Part of the fun is finding which one that you want to buy. The 5-digit black Submariner in my collection, that is the ultimate example of the hunt. Rolex only made that watch in that specific way for 3 years. It was the last version of the 5-digit Submariner before they fattened the lugs and released the 6-digit Submariner. Yes. They made the 6-digit Submariner a lot longer than they made my specific 5-digit Submariner, which makes my 5-digit black Submariner very collectible. Again, that goes to the watch collection. That's part of the fun of collecting watches, is finding something that is collectible. That 5-digit black sub that I have, that's worth almost twice what I paid for that watch, because I picked a watch that's great for collecting. This watch, the two-tone bluesy sub, the new 2020 bluesy sub, it's worth more than I paid for it as I walked out the door. It was already worth more than I paid for it, because it's a great watch to add to a collection.
Yeah.
There's more examples too, just in my specific.
So he's mentioning that several times that his watch is much more worth, that he you cannot see him. Yes. You did. I think you also didn't hear him, right? Or did you? So I think I didn't. I won't repeat this. He sent this. This part of the video, but he mentioned that his watch is just when he walked out of. Oh yes, the sound was on. So he walked outside the shop, and his watch was just much more worth than what he paid for it, and a Rolex when he also, because it was just produced for several years, it's more rare, and it's more money worth than maybe a newer Rolex or another one. So he's just talking a lot about how much money it is worth, his watch is worth. And on several streams, I already mentioned that I don't really like people that are just collecting because they think about making money out of it, making money out of your hobby. I think when somebody is collecting stamps, he just collects stamps because he really likes it. He likes the different kind of designs, the different kind of sizes, maybe also to compare the stamps, and also to look for that one stamp that he can get in a very clean, in a very new condition. And I think with watches is you can compare it with a hobby like that. There are a lot of different kind of watches, different kind of styles, different sizes, colors, materials used. You can name it. I think you don't collect because you're focusing on how much is it worth. Oh, now this watch is 100, but maybe next year it will be 200, 300, and I can maybe sell it. I don't know what's the fun about with making money out of. Yeah, I just don't understand it. when people are talking about money with their hobby, they are already in their minds. I think they're already in their minds are thinking about selling the watch. So he is walking outside the shop, and he's already thinking about selling the watch. I don't think that's very good. Okay. Like my yes.
Sub, the new 2020 Bluesy sub, it's worth more than I paid for it as I walked out the door. It was already worth more than I paid for it because it's a great watch to add to a collection. There's more examples too, just in my specific watch collection, like that Captain Willard, like the Japanese Seiko XKX007. Some of those watches are way cheaper than others, but they're still collectible. They go great in a watch collection. And just because I don't think a specific model belongs in my watch collection, it doesn't make me a watch snob. It gives me taste. I have taste for.
So he has tastes, and so because he has taste, he is no watch snob. But somebody else has no taste, and their watches are just sometimes watch snob says they are garbage. So because I don't have taste and this watch is garbage. Okay, because it's an Invicta. Huh.
My specific watch collection. But at the end of the day, I really do think that the term watch snob is just used as a self-defense word. Maybe somebody sees one of my videos and I say the word Rolex and then I say I don't like a certain brand. Well, that makes me a watch snob. No, but I'm certainly allowed to not like a certain brand of wristwatch. I'm not quite sure who it is.
Like I said moments ago, yes, you're allowed, and I have totally no problems that that you don't like my watches, or maybe you don't like any Invictas or most of the Invictas, or you don't like most of the name it. You don't like this brand or that brand, or you don't like this watch or that watch. That's no problem. That's fine.
But one of the guys that has a really nice watch collection, he was saying a couple years ago that he didn't think Rolex was going down the right path right now. Does that make him a watch snob? No, it just gives him an opinion. It gives him taste. Maybe he didn't like the fatter lugs. Maybe he didn't like that they didn't update the movement. Maybe he still doesn't like what Rolex is doing. But you know what? He's not a watch snob. Another thing you don't see with the term watch snob is you don't see people who own the ones that cost thousands and thousands of dollars using that term, watch snob. So I guess if you can afford
watch snobs, why you don't why let me make myself bigger. Why don't you see people that have the most expensive watches? Why they don't use the term watch snob? Because most time people with more money and they buying more expensive brands, most time they look down on people with maybe more with less expensive watches. So Invicta, everybody knows Invicta are cheaper than Omega, than Rolex, than name it, Patek Philippe, than Vacheron Constantin, than Audemars Piguet. So people with those more expensive watches, they look down on people with less expensive watches, like Invicta, and also on sometimes on people that are wearing brands like Seiko or Citizen. Name it, you can name it. And why why they don't use that against us? Because they look down on us. That's why they don't use that term. They are the people who are looking down onto people with Citizens, with Seiko, with Invictas, with Orient, and such with watches of that price category. So yeah, that is that's why they don't use. So when he's just thinking more, he can just knew that himself.
Afford a really nice watch. Maybe
Oh,
you
make myself smaller again.
can afford a couple of them. You're a watch snob. That's ridiculous too. And that's pretty much gonna wrap it up, guys. But you know what? If you don't like what I said,
Okay. So this is his video. Okay. I don't even know that guy. I don't watch channels except Tommy Big Time and sometimes Urban Gentry. I think Urban Gentry is also a very nice guy. He doesn't own an Invicta. Maybe he does own maybe one Pro Diver. He did a review on it, but I don't know if he still has that watch. But he also talked several times about watch snaps. Let me put this one off. I don't need it anymore, and I can hear myself more clear. So the Urban Gentry is also a very I think he has a great channel. Maybe I can put a link down below in the description of the Urban Gentry. I really like his videos also, but he is more humble, and I think the problems with most time with people with more expensive watches is they look down upon people with some less expensive watches, as I said. And that's a problem. Those people are just looking down upon, and they just sometimes they just say it is a bad watch, and why you and when you ask why, they will just give some strange reasons why your watch is not that good. As example, this 9053, people will complain that it is a cheap knockoff of a Rolex that is produced in the 60s. So they will say it's a cheap knockoff, and they will say yes, but the movement inside is not as good as the Rolex, so it is a bad watch. But what do you expect? What do you expect for a watch that is maybe between $120 and $150? So this is 120, between $120-$150. What do you expect for that price? But they will they will just bash, just to bash. And I think watch snobs, the definition of watch snob is just somebody who likes to bash on brands, especially on some cheaper brands. And I think that is like a good definition of a watch snob. Just somebody who is bashing, who is bashing smaller, cheaper watch brands without any reason. I gave an example. There are a lot of people who are just also bashing when I show them my my vintage Invictas. And why they do that? Because it's an Invicta. It's without any reason. They just see the name on the dial, and they say that's bad. Or I show them some. I think a lot of my modern Invictas are just well made. The movements are inside are just great. Nothing wrong with them, but they just say it's a bad watch. Why? It's an Invicta. It's cheaper. It is sometimes a knockoff. They don't have their own designs, and when they come with an own design, it's still bad because it's an Invicta. Yeah. So this isn't their own design. It's still bad. Okay. And or it is bad because it's in quartz. So this one is also a quartz. It's 40mm quartz. It's a 40mm watch with a quartz movement inside. So it's bad because it is in quartz. But in chronograph, The cheapest maybe you can make is a Seagull ST19, and even then it will be more expensive than what you pay for this one. This one will go now in the Invicta store for 120. It's really, really cheap. And I think when they will when they put a seagull movement inside, it will be more expensive than 120. You also follow Trap Fishing? Yes, me too. I follow all the guys. Tommy Big Time, Urban Gentry, Trap Fishing. But Urban Gentry is not focusing on Invicta, but he's just focusing on lifestyle, watches, watch hobby, some topics about in the watch hobby. Tommy Big Time is, yes, really into the Invicta. Trap Fishing is also on lifestyle, but also on Invicta watches. I follow also John the Phone Guy and Rico Smilez, but Rico, yes, Rico has also some health issues, so I know he doesn't upload that often. So he tried to upload this week again a new video, but because he doesn't feel alright, he didn't do that. So I hope he will be better. Yeah, because I don't like that he is he's ill. Yeah. So I think this is it. I think I just still don't, with my mind, I just still don't understand why people just want to bash just to bash. I just don't understand it. They just bash because without any reason. They just do it. They see an Invicta, it's bad. And sometimes they will say, it's okay, but because there's Invicta on the dial, it's not that good. I've read that also sometimes on some forums. I will post an Invicta and they say, yeah, the watch it's okay, but I don't like that there is Invicta on the dial. And that's something I read very often. It's just bashing to, they just, yeah. It's really silly. It's really silly. And I think a watch snob is just somebody who is looking down upon people with some cheaper watches, and they just bash to bash, they without any reason. So this will wrap it up, and I think this is it for today. I want to thank everyone for watching, and if you like this video, give it a thumb up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So down below, subscribe, and also the bell icon, because sometimes I don't show up in your playlist or in your list, and if you don't put on the bell icon, you don't get a notification. So everybody, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the